Hello, hello, and welcome. Happy Earth Day to all of you, and welcome to our sustainability speaker series. And this is our first event out of 3 events. So we are glad to have you here, all online today. We had initially offered the option to be in person and online, and it seems like the vast majority of people are keen on being online. So we are glad to turn this first event into a webinar today. So to let you know a little bit about what to expect today, we have 2 experts in sustainability to discuss waste management and waste reduction. And so we'll do a little bit of an introduction about sustainability, hear from our 2 guest speakers, and then open up the floor for questions. Our hope with this event is that we can have conversations and that we can ask hard questions and hopefully leave this event with a little bit of an action plan, because if we want to be part of the change, it starts with education, which is what we're doing in the first part, but also action. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you are taking the time to show up for this event. Just a couple housekeeping pieces before I dive in. When the speakers are presenting, I will invite you to stay on mute if you can. And feel free to use the chat function for any questions. And but we will keep the questions to the end. So after the second speaker, I will make sure that there is some time available to ask questions, and you will be able to raise your hands and speak, or type the questions into the chat box. All right, lots of people coming in now. Fantastic. Okay, so let's start with the very important piece with our land acknowledgement. So we acknowledge that we are located on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional territory of the Neutral and Haudenosaunee people. The Long Point Biosphere region stands in sovereignty of these lands, of these treaty lands rather, with the Mississaugas of the Credit. All right, so let me introduce myself. I will be the host for this event and the 2 other events of this series. My name is Emily, and I am with the Long Point Biosphere. Just to introduce the biosphere to you in a few simple words, the Long Point Biosphere region is a non-for-profit organization. We promote research, monitoring, community outreach, and education, partnerships and projects that support biodiversity, conservation, and sustainability in communities in Norfolk County. We exchange information with the Canadian Biosphere Reserve Association and other reserves in Canada and around the world. Our mission is to collaborate to enhance ecosystem and community well-being while uniting people with nature. So I am very excited to be presenting this speaker series about sustainability. What a great day to start this off on Earth Day and really dive into this so important conversation. I think if you showed up, you probably already are interested in sustainability and probably are already taking some steps. But sometimes we tend to forget what sustainability is all about. So I'm going back to a little bit of an older definition where the birth of sustainability came from. So that was in '87 with the Brundtland Commission, and they defined at that point sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And every time I read this one, it just hits me in the right place, and I hope that it does for you as well. I've been talking about sustainability more since I've been in this role at the biosphere, and I'm always a little bit surprised how, as soon as we say sustainability, we only think about the environmental portion, which is so important and a big focus for today's presentation. But I just want to open the conversation because in this series, you'll also hear about the social aspects of sustainability as well as the economic aspect of sustainability. But today, for the first event, our focus will be here on the environmental part. I cannot dive into the conversation without bringing the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm sure most of you have heard a little bit about it. I've seen this graphic, which is hopefully popping in everybody's mind. And these are 17 goals that were created in 2015 at the Paris conference. And they are a goal. They are big goals to be achieved with 2030, and we all need to be part of the solution if we actually want to move forward with these big goals. And I love that the topic today will relate to many of these sustainability goals. I was just kind of going through, and waste management and waste reduction could affect, I counted at least 8 SDGs that it would relate to, and perhaps there's even more connection to others. So when we're thinking about sustainability goals as a whole, there's so many aspects of our day-to-day life and what we do in the community and so on that impacts. So let's dive in. Let's dive into the topic together. So I'm excited to introduce our first speaker, Merissa. Merissa is the Supervisor of Waste Management for Norfolk County and a director on the board of the Ontario chapter of the Solid Waste Association of North America. She has been involved in the waste management industry for 14 years after graduating from York University with an honor Bachelor of Science degree. So welcome, Merissa. Take it away.
All right, thank you so much. Just give me 1 second to share my screen. Okay, so thank you again for having me today. As I was introduced, I am the Supervisor of Waste Management for Norfolk County. However, I'm currently off on maternity leave. So at the end of this slide, I do have contact information that if there's more questions or you want to reach out to someone with the county, since I'm away currently right now from the county, you do have information that we will get those questions answered for you if I'm not able to do so today. So I wanted to start with some of the numbers of waste that we collect in the county. And when I refer to the term waste, it means everything that we're managing. So it's including garbage, recycling, leaf and yard waste, bulky items. In other municipalities that would also group in an organics program. Unfortunately, we don't have one here, but it is something we're looking into, and I'll touch on that a little bit more later on. However, so here's some numbers from 2021. We collected just under 15,000 tons of garbage from the curb, just under 5,000 tons of recycling, just under 1,400 tons of leaf and yard waste, and 34 tons of bulky items. So that would be bigger pieces of furniture and things like that that you normally wouldn't set out in a garbage bag. So for a total collected at the curb of just over 21,000 tons. So that's just curbside. We also have transfer stations that we operate. There's also household hazardous waste days that we have material that were collected in as well. So those also come into an overall number, but the curbside is the biggest piece of our collection efforts. So just to break it down a little bit more, so there's approximately 30,000 households in Norfolk County. So the total waste per household per year is roughly around 700 kilos, which equates to about 30 pounds per week. So that includes your recycling, leaf and yard waste, and garbage. But if you want to look at the garbage amount that we're putting out each week, it's about 21 pounds per household. So there is quite a bit of room that we could work on reducing that number. So I'm going to skip over this since it was already spoken about. So how is Norfolk sustainable? So from the garbage perspective, currently our curbside waste is consolidated at a central location in Waterford and put onto one larger truck to minimize the number of trips that we take our material to the landfill. So currently our material is going to Walker Environmental South Landfill, which is in Thorold. And at that facility, it's a larger landfill that collects material from a bunch of different municipalities, as well as a private landfill. So private haulers can also take material there. So what they're doing on that site is they're capturing the methane gas. Now, methane gas is created from waste breaking down. It's a byproduct of garbage breaking down, and it's released into the atmosphere. And it's problematic because it's stronger than CO2, about 25 times stronger than CO2 as a greenhouse gas. So what Walker Environmental is doing at their facility is they're capturing that methane gas, piping it, cleaning it up, and then it's used by General Motors facility in St. Catharines, being turned into electricity. And they also use it to heat their facility as well. And then any of the methane gas that's not used at the General Motors facility, they're also using at their own facility to help offset electricity that they use at their site. So that's a little bit for waste, for garbage. So for recycling, our material is sorted in Simcoe. So we're reducing long distances for collection trucks by consolidating it all in Simcoe. We also use a two-stream program. So we have a tall box and a small box. The small box would be for paper and cardboard. The tall box is for containers. And so by using a two-stream system, we find that there's less contamination. So it means that more material is being recycled, and we're getting a better value for selling those recyclables, which offsets the cost of the program for the collection and the sorting of the material into its various streams. Our contractor also looks at sourcing local markets where they're available. So trying to find places within Ontario that will purchase the bales of material after it's been sorted to turn it into recycled material. And then if that's not available, then they're also looking for markets within Eastern North America, again, to reduce our footprint of shipping over larger areas. And then looking at the leaf and yard waste side of things. So again, our leaf and yard waste material is processed within Norfolk County. So that's reducing our truck trips, less distance to haul. It's composted, and then it's created into a blend with manure. So we're using products within Norfolk County, so leaf and yard waste, and then manure also from Norfolk County. And then material is then being sold and put back into the soil. So a big full circle on that piece. Oftentimes it's a big question that I get is, what about organics? Especially people that are moving from larger urban centers that have been used to having a green bin program are kind of surprised to find that Norfolk County doesn't have one. So it's a discussion item that it's on our radar for when we have to renew our curbside collection contract in 2024. However, there are some challenges with the green bin program. So Norfolk County is a big municipality with a lot of distance to cover, and there's a smaller tonnage of green bin material that would be collected. There's limited processing facilities within Ontario that will take the material and turn it into compost. And then there's cost factor as well. So typically what we're finding with the green bin program is doing the right thing with the organic material. It's about 3 times the cost of landfilling material or having it as waste. And then there's also limited participation because people call it the yuck factor, that it can be kind of smelly and it's rotting organic material, so people don't want to handle it. So that sometimes limits the amount of people participating as well in the program. So some things on what you as a resident of Norfolk County, or just you as a resident in general, can do to be aware of what you're throwing away or how you can reduce your footprint. So one of the biggest things is be aware of what you're buying. So look for quality products. Sometimes buying that cheaper product may not outlast something if you spend a little bit more money on. Clothing is a big thing. They're saying that a lot of times clothing now is manufactured to be wear a few times and throw it away. Whereas if you invest a little bit more money in a higher quality piece, it would give you more wear and thus not having it thrown away. Same with electronics and things like that. Sometimes buying the cheaper thing isn't always the best, and you end up again throwing it away. Another for reducing your waste would be to repair items rather than purchasing new. However, sometimes when you look into the actual cost of repairing it, it might be more than purchasing new. That's some of the things that the provincial government has been looking at a little bit to see incentives and things like that to get people to repair items rather than just throwing it away and buying something new. You can also consider borrowing or renting something. If you need a piece of equipment, don't go out and buy a new one for that one-off time. Oftentimes there's places that you can rent a piece of equipment, or maybe it's something your neighbor has. It's worth a conversation just saying, hey, do you have this thing that I could borrow, especially if it's a one-off thing. And then also looking at your needs versus wants. Do you really need that thing that you're buying, or is it something that you want that may only last for a few times and then you don't need it anymore or want it, or it's not something that's the trendy thing anymore. So how can you reduce your waste from recycling? So here I have a photo of what aluminum cans look like when they're baled up to be sent off to be made into new aluminum. So look for easily recyclable and reusable products or products containing recycled content. So there are certain products that are easier to recycle versus others. So some products that are difficult to recycle are glass. There's a limited number of markets for glass, styrofoam, and film plastic. So when I say film plastic, I mean plastic bags. So for film plastic especially, oftentimes it's cheaper for them to make new film plastic than then to recycle it and make a new plastic bag. Styrofoam is difficult because of its sheer size and trying to compact it down. You're essentially shipping bales of air. So, and it's difficult to be made into a new product. So products that are easy to be recycled and have a value would be aluminum and steel cans. So they're products that can be made into new aluminum and steel cans infinite number of times. Clear plastic is also a product that's easy to be recycled. It has numerous uses versus something that would be dyed with color. If you think about when you were little and you mashed all your Play-Doh together, that's colored and it would give you like this brown color. So that's what happens when they melt colored plastic all together. So it has a limited use of what it can be made into, whereas clear plastic, when it's melted all down and clear, it can be made into different products. And then paper as well. It's been one of the big staples, paper, cardboard, things like that for recycling. Another thing that you can do for recycling is know what types of products can actually go into your recycling box. Norfolk County has an app that is called Recycle Coach that you can download, and it has a feature where you can put in the search bar and ask, like, say you were looking to find out if a coat hanger, for example, was recyclable. The app would tell you that no, it's not, it would go in your garbage. So that helps you know where to place your certain materials. And it also helps us by reducing contamination in your recycling. So it's less sorting for us at our recycling facility. And then also you can look at purchasing items in bulk rather than single servings. So for example, hand soap, you can refill individual containers in your house with one larger container, or for beverages like pop or juice, you could buy the larger 2-liter container and pour it into cups versus juice boxes and things like that. While single servings are convenient, they do come with a bigger impact by having more waste. There's also a trend that's starting now, but it's more prominent in larger urban centers, using refillery stores. So Sloth and Molasses in Simcoe offers refilling of some products. So we're finding that, like, you can bring a shampoo container and you could fill your reusable shampoo container at places. So you would just pay based on the weight of what you fill up. So that's something that's starting to become more trendy, but hasn't quite taken off here in Norfolk County yet. Another thing, a common mistake that we hear from people is, well, it has the recycling symbol on the bottom, so it must be able to go into my blue box. And that's not necessarily the case. So the plastic industry uses a resin identification code. So that's the colored pictures here with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers in them. So it's used to tell what type of plastic the product is made from versus the recycling symbol, which is on the left here of my slide. So because it has one of these numbers on the bottom doesn't necessarily mean that we take it in our recycling program. Most numbers we do, however, number 3 and number 7 are items that we don't take. Number 7 is usually a combination of different types of plastic resin, which makes it difficult to be broken out and recycled again. So just again, you can use that Recycle Coach app as a huge tool to help you if you have something and you're unsure of where it goes. Another thing I like to mention is that the Blue Box program was created for food and beverage containers, if you think about it like that. So plastic toys, CD cases, or things like that don't fall under that food and beverage container heading. So typically those are items that we aren't able to take in our recycling program. So when it comes to organics, 30 to 40% of your waste stream is actually made up of organic waste. So some ways that you can look at reducing your organic footprint, especially because we don't have a green bin program here, is trying to only buy what you need. Oftentimes we get pulled in by buy 2, get 1 free, but if it's rotting in your fridge, is it really worth buying 2 and getting that 1 free? Because you're ending up throwing it away anyhow. You can also look at trying to plan out your meals and create a grocery list to prevent overbuying and getting sucked in at the grocery store with those buy 2, get 1 free. Oh, it's on sale. But really, if you're throwing it away, did you save any money? You just threw your money in the garbage, unfortunately. If no one wants leftovers in your house, consider trying to make smaller batches of food to avoid food waste. And then you could also get creative with your meals to try to make a meal with food that will spoil soon. However, there is some food waste that is unavoidable, such as cores, peels, seeds, and stems. You could also look at trying to use backyard composting if you want to try to minimize your own footprint. And it's nice because the compost that you create, you can use around your garden or around your yard to help feed the soil. So we do have composters available for purchase from Norfolk County, but there's also other hardware stores such as Canadian Tire Home Hardware that offer them as well. But you have to make sure that you're feeding your bacteria properly. A lot of times people think, well, I just put it in there and, you know, magically overnight I should have compost coming out the bottom of my composter. What happens? So, you know, you have to feed them properly to do the work. And if you think of yourself, if you don't have the proper nutrients and you're hungry, you're not going to be as productive. The same thing as the bacteria that is used to break down the food and organic material. You have to use a layering of your composter. So you want to do a layer of food waste and then a layer of leaf and yard waste to get that nice ratio. And you also have to mix it and turn the content. So you can't just throw the material in and expect magic to happen overnight. And that's oftentimes why people end up not sticking with backyard composting. But oftentimes there's a little booklet that will come with your backyard composter that will help you work through some of the issues and give you tips as to how to maximize the bacteria and make them happy to do work for you. For leaf and yard waste, so instead of raking up the grass clippings as we're getting to grass cutting season, mulch them and leave them on your lawn because it'll put nutrients back into your soil. You can also consider if you have to rake up the grass clippings, you can use them for weed suppression around trees or in flower beds. And then for leaves in the fall, consider leaving your leaves on the lawn in the winter for bugs and insects as a habitat for them. You can also mulch your leaves again to feed your soil. And you can also consider stockpiling some of your yard waste if you have an area on your yard to use it for layering in your compost, say during the winter when you wouldn't have yard waste available. Some general tips that you can use. So avoid falling for marketing, as I had mentioned in the past, buying in bulk. If you throw half out, is it really worth it? You know, buy 2, get 2 free or buy 2, get 1 free. It's not really beneficial if you're not going to use that material. You can use stores such as Bulk Barn to purchase a small quantity if you need something for a recipe rather than buying a large portion that will end up going to waste or spoil. And you can try using reusable bags. So for carrying out groceries, I know Walmart had a big push that today they were going plastic bag free. So look at using reusable bags for that. The picture I have here are reusable snack bags that you can get Amazon, Walmart. I've seen them in a bunch of places. So they're silicone bags that you can rinse out and wash and reuse. And then there's also reusable produce bags. They're kind of like a mesh bag that you can take and put your produce in. Or even consider, do you really need a bag? Like if you're buying bananas at the grocery store that are in a peel, do they really need to go in the plastic produce bag? Probably not. You can also look at trying to sell items or consider donating items in good condition. So if you have furniture that maybe you're changing, you can look at Habitat for Humanity in Simcoe. They have a store on Park Road that they'll take gently used items. Or you can use things like Facebook Marketplace, Kijiji, or a yard sale to sell your things before throwing them out. Because some people might find use in what you no longer need. Again, as I had mentioned at the beginning, consider purchasing quality used items. So kids' clothing, you know, your children outgrow their clothes so fast that, you know, oftentimes you could buy good used clothing that looks brand new. Or you can look at refurbished items. I know like Apple, for example, you could buy a refurbished iPhone or an iPad, maybe a laptop that they've basically went over it, made it like brand new again. Yes, maybe it's not the newest model, but oftentimes when a new model comes out, they only change one or two things. So your old device is probably still more than sufficient. And then also look for products with minimal packaging. So I think that's a big one. I mean, oftentimes you get a box from Amazon, for example, and it's a huge box for a tiny little item. So, or there's other things. Costco is another example where you buy something small and it's got this huge packaging around it. So if you can look for items that minimize that packaging, that'll also help reduce your footprint. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell for me. Again, there's the Norfolk County's general phone number. If you have questions that I'm not able to answer today, or you can send an email to askus@norfolkcounty.ca, and they can get it over to Elizabeth, who's covering my maternity leave, and she will be able to get an answer for you as well if, say, something comes up after this presentation. Otherwise, I'll be back in October and can help you out then.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Merissa. That was
muted. Oh, sorry.
Great presentation. Sorry, I was hearing something else in the back. I would love you guys, if anybody learned anything from this presentation, if there was any takeaway, put it in the chat box. We can discuss it further at the end here. But yeah, like feel free to share a little bit of the takeaways. I think there's a lot about I love the last few pieces, Merissa, especially about like, you know, making choices about packaging, and the change is going to come from customers like us demanding better. So I think this is a big part of the conversation, and we're going to continue on this conversation with our next speaker to take it up a little bit further, but great knowledge there. Thanks for sharing and coming in your maternity leave to talk to us, even more appreciated. So let me share my screen again to introduce our second speaker for the day. Our second speaker is Christine Wardle. She is a sustainability consultant for Fanshawe College, as well as a student in the environmental design and planning program. She has a passion for living zero waste and a love for everything environmental. Creating a life that is purposeful and meaningful while doing the utmost she can for the planet is important to her, and she enjoys helping others become environmentally conscious too. Welcome, Christine. I'm glad to have you here. If you want to share your screen, and we're all ears.
Definitely. I did have one point for Merissa's presentation. You know, you talked about the numbers of plastics, and a lot of times there's something I heard earlier this year that's called wish cycling, and it's when, you know, people throw it into the bin hoping that it's going to get recycled, and then that's where a lot of our contamination rates come from. So something that, yeah, we definitely need to make sure we're educated on.
Yeah, we need to know what to do better, right? And that's why we're here today, and we hopefully continue on this conversation and share it with at least one other person after we're done here today. Awesome. Take it away, Christine.
Okay, you guys can see that all right? Perfect. Okay, so hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking to you a bit about living zero waste at home. Merissa did touch on a couple of things that we'll be talking a little bit further into. So I've got a lot of information here. So yeah, buckle up. There we go. So now I hear a lot of people, they worry about living zero waste is hard or expensive, and they won't be able to do it on a budget or different time constraints, such as working full-time or being a student. I myself am a student, and I find zero waste to be way more time efficient and cost efficient than buying all packaged products. So how exactly can you do this? One of the things to remember is how to shop and where to shop. So there's a lot of bulk stores available these days. You can see me here shopping at one store that we all know and love. Snacks are not the only thing you can get here. Dedicated zero waste stores are a great place to purchase items. Depending on where you live, the stores might change. So if you have a search online, you can find out what's around you and where you can get the stuff. You might have a full store or even just a section of a store that offers zero waste items and food. So when you go to the grocery store, be sure to look for fruits and vegetables that are package free. A lot of the times there's things like, peppers and cucumbers that are going to be packaged in plastic, but these also come without plastic. And it's important to make the choice to not buy the packaged foods so that manufacturers and companies know that you don't want that kind of product. And similarly, you can find a lot of these items that are packaged in either compostable packaging or in glass jars. Compostable stuff is really easy. It's usually either in paper or cardboard. And then you can put these into your backyard composter. You can also use them as fire starter or even line your garden beds with this stuff. And then glass jars are infinitely recyclable, but more than that, they can be reused for your own chosen products at zero waste or bulk stores. You just need to make sure that they're clean and dry before taking them and filling them. So now that we know a little bit about how we shop, we're going to look at other areas where we can reduce our waste at home. So we're always on the go these days, and everything on the road seems to come with some sort of waste that could be avoided. So here's a list of some amazing on-the-go items to reduce your need for packaged stuff. Beeswax food wraps are really easy to make on your own, or you can purchase them as well. If you want to make them, all you have to do is find some 100% cotton fabric, a block of beeswax, or you can get wax pellets. That doesn't have to be beeswax. You can get other types of wax as well. You grate the wax onto the fabric and put it into the oven at a low temperature until the wax has saturated the fabric, and then you bring it out, leave it to harden, and that's it. You can use these wraps for things like sandwiches, and then they just go right into your bag, and they're really easy. And you can also use silicone snack bags and reusable food storage containers like a Tupperware or something else. Usually glass is better. Tupperware is plastic, but they do take back anything that's either broken. They have a lifetime warranty, so that is better than using a disposable plastic. So one of the most famous zero waste items is a water bottle. You can get glass, stainless steel, even copper water bottles are great options to keep you hydrated throughout the day. And they help immensely with keeping single-use plastic bottles out of our oceans and our ecosystems. You can also use hot drink thermos. I'm sure you guys have seen me using my steel thermos here for my tea. And plus, there's so many cute water bottles these days. You're bound to find something that you love and something that you're going to want to use. And then also a steel straw and reusable cutlery are great additions to just throw in your bag when you're leaving the house, and as well, handkerchiefs. I know they may seem a bit dated, but they are really great for reducing your waste, and they actually are gentler on your nose when in the winter time. If you happen to be sick, it's actually they're quite nice. So in our kitchens, there are places where there's a lot of packaging that seems never ending. So I mentioned before that saving your glass jars from things like olives or pasta sauce can be reused for bulk items like chickpeas, salt and pepper, loose leaf tea, and even mac and cheese powder. So to go along with those tea leaves, a loose leaf teapot can help you reduce your waste. Did you guys know that a lot of tea bags these days are actually made from plastic? So when you're brewing your hot cup of tea, there's a lot of microplastics that are leaching into your drink. So not very palatable, if you ask me. And when you go to the grocery store, look for those non-plastic veggies. As I mentioned before, you can use cloth produce bags. So these bags help you keep your produce clean and tidy while shopping and bringing it home. You can also just go without if you want to. And then cooking those veggies is another thing that we all like to do. And we want to use something that is reusable and sturdy. So here you can see some silicone bakeware on the top left. These are great for non-stick cooking, but you can also use glass, ceramic, and steel bakeware instead of bringing home, something that's pre-made in a plastic tub. And then to clean all these dishes, there are soap dish bars and natural dish scrubbies. So this might sound like a foreign concept, but I promise you washing your dishes with a bar of soap is just as effective as using liquid soap. And plus, it's kind of fun to make bubbles in the water with your bar. And so now on to one of the places that we all make a lot of waste is the bathroom. So this first item is something that I have raved about for years. I'm pretty sure my friends are very sick of hearing about it, but it is the bidet. So although bidets do use water, they use a lot less water than it takes to make toilet paper. And if you pair your bidet with 100% recycled toilet paper, you will be royalty on the porcelain throne. And then on the other end of our bodies, oral care is important too. So using things like a bamboo toothbrush, metal tongue cleaner, bulk toothpaste, and compostable floss will all help you have a zero waste oral health routine. You can also use toothpaste tabs. They've become really popular in recent years. And then once your toothbrush is used up, your bamboo toothbrush, you just cut the bristles off the top and you can throw your bamboo stick into the composter. And then for anyone that menstruates, there are reusable products. Menstrual cups have also become really popular in recent years. So disposable pads and tampons tend to have chemicals like bleach, and sometimes they're scented with fragrances. But menstrual cups are made from medical grade silicone. They can be worn for up to 12 hours and can be used for upwards of 15 years. So this saves so much waste from going to landfill. And then reusable pads just need to be chucked into the washing machine and you're good to go. And continuing on our bathroom journey, a safety razor is a great addition to any bathroom. So no matter where you like to defuzz, these razors provide a great shave with zero waste. The blades are super cheap. They're like $3 for 5 blades, and you just have to replace them when the time is. And then you just make sure you get a proper recycling tin for them. And that's it. There's no plastic waste at all. And bar shampoo and conditioner is one of my favorite zero waste swaps. So they get your hair nice and clean and always come in compostable packaging, which is great. Sometimes it does take a bit to find a bar combo that works for your hair, but once you do, you won't even notice the difference between bottled and bar shampoo. And a bamboo hairbrush metal product tins for things like moisturizer or even diaper cream for babies, and natural bath scrubbies and washcloths are also ways to reduce your waste and reduce the amount of plastic in your home. So instead of using those plastic shower pom-poms, those are just made with plastic mesh. You know, the humble washcloth has been used for so many years and it's really great. And our last bathroom item is something that I've been using for a few years now, which is homemade deodorant. Really easy to make. It's 2 tablespoons baking soda, 2 tablespoons corn flour, and 4 tablespoons of coconut oil with 15 to 20 drops of whatever essential oil you want, as long as it's safe for skin. I've had nothing but success with this recipe. You just take a pea-sized amount, put it on your arms, and you smell fresh all day. My most recent scent has been lemon. So it's quite lovely. And in the laundry room, you also don't have to use plastic tubs of laundry detergent. There's something called soap berries. They're great little things. They have a natural soap called saponin in them. And once they get mixed with warm water, they create suds and are able to clean your clothes. You can even make your own laundry liquid by boiling them and putting them with, you know, a bit of water and vinegar, and you can make your own laundry soap. And laundry stain bars, again, are another great way to reduce your plastic waste. These bars do just as good a job as plastic bottled stain remover, I find, and they last way longer. And then for the dryer, you can use wool dryer bars that can be used thousands of times, or just skip the dryer sheet altogether. I haven't been using dryer sheets or dryer balls for years, and my clothes are just fine. Sometimes I do get a bit of static, but we all need, you know, a little bit of shock value in our lives every now and then. Okay, so our workspace. I'm pretty sure we're all sitting at our workspaces today. It's another great area we can reduce our waste and our plastic use. So when looking for things like backpacks, laptop bags, and pencil cases, we want to look for ones that are made from natural fibers like cotton, hemp, jute, or even there's paper ones that you can find. You can also find these items, they're made of recycled materials or even upcycled materials. Upcycled is when you take something that used to be something else and then you're using it in its kind of original form, but you're making something else with it. And so bamboo, again, is another great material for things like lap desks or even your regular desk. And for those of us who are students or even just needing a bit of organization, compostable binders are really great. So these ones you see here are 100% compostable. And the rings are recyclable. So at the end of the life, they won't be sitting around in landfill after you've decided to go with something else. And continuing our workspace adventure, writing tools are really important these days. So there's dozens of companies that sell plastic disposable pens, but they're so wasteful. So instead, try just switching back to the pencil. And you can also try fountain pens. Fountain pens are refillable and they can be used for decades if they are taken care of properly. And if you truly cannot live without the roller ball pens that we're all used to, you can look for ones that are made from recycled materials, and because they will ensure that there's no virgin materials being used for the production. The ones on the bottom left here, the kind of gray with the blue, green, and white, those are actually made from old milk cartons. And those are actually available at Fanshawe. I saw those there. And then clipboards are also handy little tools when you want to make notes. So trying to find something that is made from either wood, bamboo, or metal clipboards, they do the same job as the plastic ones, but they're going to last a lot longer. And I find they feel a lot nicer when you're working with them. Okay, so I know this was a lot of information to take in, and I hope that everybody was taking notes on their metal clipboards. So what actions, did you guys see today that you're going to adopt in your life? We just have to remember that you don't have to do everything that, can be done. Even making one consistent change in your everyday life is going to help make a difference in the planet. And then I also have just, if anybody is wanting to, follow our social media, I post tips and tricks there quite often. So yes, that is
Great.
that is it.
Thank you so much, Christine.
You're welcome.
Very well done. Lots of good tips, actually. Some new items that I wasn't familiar with. So thank you for doing that. And I love this slide. I actually want to take a moment on this slide before we jump into the question period for the guests, because this event is about taking ownership of our own actions. And if you saw something this far in either Christine's presentation or in Merissa's presentation that you feel like you can commit to, because like Christine just said, it's not about doing all the things right now, but it's at least about doing one thing or two things and the next thing. I would love some brave people to put some action steps in the comments that they are committing themselves to starting today. And it can be the simplest thing. It doesn't have to be the most complex change in your life, but if we can all leave with one little thing, it could make a huge difference. All right, so we're going to start the question period. Christine, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
I can do.
Fantastic. Okay. If you feel like you want to turn your camera on and be part of the conversation, you can. If you would rather use the chat box to ask your questions, I will direct the questions to our experts. So I need to go back a little bit. There was a few messages from earlier that are totally worth reading. So Sherry is here, and she was commenting when Merissa was talking about the refillery trend. Yes, molasses and Simcoe here is a great place. Sherry says she has not purchased a deodorant container for a few years, and just reuse the containers that she has. Like, again, a lot of these habits that we have is just, sometimes I've come to our life without thinking. It's something that we've seen others do and we've been doing, but this is more than the time to reflect on our own consumption and our own habits and start making change. So thanks for sharing that, Sherry. That's great inspiration. Val commented when I was talking. So Val is here. Val is a director on the Biosphere board, and she's making this event possible. Thanks for being here, Val. Val says she's learned, the average garbage amount. Anybody else like feeling like, oh my God, that's like so scary to see those numbers. And the cost of composting was also really interesting. Val didn't realize that it was so expensive. Glad I have a great composter in my garden and it's working well. Yes, I put it that when Merissa was talking about the yuck factor, like sadly, there's still a lot of people that are stuck in that mindset. And I think we can do better. I love that. Yeah, wish cycling. I think Merissa and I, leading up to this event, have discussed this a few times. People just really like hoping for the best, hoping magic happens when you drop anything in the box. But we've learned from Merissa's presentation that it just doesn't work that way. Larry had a question for Christine. Christine, how can you tell if the packaging is really compostable as well as what system accepts it? Any tips on this, Christine?
So sometimes something will look like it's paper, but the way to tell that something is paper or not truly compostable would be, well, one, if it has a compostable label on it. And then also sometimes if you try to rip a piece of paper and it's really hard to rip it, then you know that there's more than likely a layer of plastic in there somewhere. So that's kind of an easier way to tell. But most times it will have a label that says whether it's compostable or not.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Rebecca says, thanks, Merissa. My takeaway is that the clear plastic containers are more easily recycled than the color ones. Yeah, some great information there. I was actually, I see the recycling sign in the numbers, but I actually did not totally know what they meant personally. So I'm learning something as well. Heather say, learning more about using my composter more efficiently. Yeah, I think there's things, even if you're doing some of the actions, like, are we doing them right? And things keep evolving, right? Like we get, science is experimenting, and we get to know better, and we can do better if we know best. Val says, bar shampoo and soap berries. I commit. All right, we got a commitment in the house. I love it. Hopefully there's more commitments on this coming down. I'm just scrolling through those comments. Julia says, take bulk toothpaste is on the horizon to try. I already use flattened molasses to refill shampoo, hard soap, and buy eco-friendly dishwasher tablets. All right, one more step, just that next step. When you like creating any habits in your life, it starts with doing something well consistently and then adding the next layer, right? It applies to living more sustainably as well. Rebecca says, thanks, Christine. My action is to look for safety razors. Yeah, I love that as well. Like when you said the price, what are we doing buying throwable razors? Great. All right.
I spend about $1.50 a year on my razor.
That's amazing. Yeah, I
have
know, when
two
we have
teenage
kids
daughters.
and teenagers.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I'm going to jump in with a question, and I'd like to see others. And a big part of doing this event is getting real about how we're feeling and learning and things. And I have to say, there's moments when I feel a little bit defeated. I'm doing the actions in my own house. I'm doing the things, and then I see, the corporations out there and the industries that have big change to make as well. I'm going to ask this question to both Merissa and Christine. Like, any advice when those feelings of feeling like you're not making a difference pop up in your own, habits in your home? Like, what? Any one of you want to jump on this one and take it? Christine, you were waving. I'll just I'll go to you. Yeah.
I do hear a lot of people say, my actions don't make a difference. And there are some days too where I am like, so overwhelmed with the feeling of like, I'm only one person. But knowing that there are potentially millions of other people who are like me and who want to make a difference, my actions are just my actions, but my actions combined with my neighbor and my friend that I told this about and my family member that's doing this too, all of these individual actions together are making a huge difference. So you just have to remember that, like, you are only one person, but there's 8, 9, 10 million people that think like you too.
Yes, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Merissa, do you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, just that I kind of agree by setting an example, I guess. And if, even events like this are a good takeaway, because the information you learn, you'll go back and have a conversation with someone else, and then that knowledge ends up getting passed on. So I always look at it as, yeah, sometimes it might seem daunting, or, you're only one person, but if I take it as, and especially in my role with the county, is if I can educate a small group of people, hopefully they can pass that information on, and it ends up continuing on to other people. And hopefully, collectively it does make a difference. And if you can stop a few things from going in the waste or diverting something, those little pieces eventually do add up.
I love that. I think, yeah, like two really good points in that response, Merissa. Like, if all of us are talking to 2 to 5 people about something that we've learned today, there's impact there. And also, if we went back to that original like sustainability definition about like not hurting the future, like, our kids are seeing us, our grandkids are, seeing our actions, and they're the future, right? So take ownership of that, it can go a long way. I'll just go to Val and then I'll go to Sherry after. Val, if you have a question or a comment.
Yes, it's a question probably for Merissa. I let my leafage in the fall stay on my lawn through the winter, and hopefully it breaks down, but it didn't break down much. So I'm left with a lot of really dark, brown decomposing leaves, and wonder if are the insects in there doing things that, and I shouldn't touch those because I could mulch them into my grass, but if the insects are breeding in those full leaves, will I upset that?
That's a great question. Probably the leaves have stayed intact over the winter because it is a bigger piece, right? If you mulch it, they'll decompose faster because there's less of an area for those bacteria and insects to decompose it. I don't think there would be much harm to mulch it up. You have to think too that if you do leave them as a big mat, that it'll end up, if it's on your grass, it'll end up suffocating the grass, right? So you would end up killing the grass in that area too. So oftentimes the insects are working with the leaves, like they hide in the winter, but then they're also interacting with the soil as well. So if you're suffocating that top layer as well, then you're not really helping them either.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Merissa. Thanks for your question, Val. Sherry, you had a question or a comment?
I was just going to make the point that I can't remember if it was Christine or Merissa made before as well regarding your point, Emily, that every single time we buy something, we send a message to manufacturers. So I don't like shopping anymore because I'm reading labels and I'm figuring out where it's made and I'm finding out, all sorts of things about it. It's not a quick, fast thing anymore. I'm shopping local. There's just so many things to shopping anymore. But every time I do it that way, it makes me feel better to know that I'm supporting a local person and I'm supporting a company that has sound environmental practices and that it's better for the earth. So I think that earlier point that someone made is a really valid one too. Every single time we buy something or don't buy something, sends a message to manufacturers, and the more of us that do that, the better. And if I can just say something to Val about her leaves, I think that what I've learned, I'm really passionate about protecting pollinators, is leave the leaves till the temperature is above 10 degrees for a few consecutive days, because there's still pollinators are still sleeping in there, and there's I think that if it's a really heavy weight of leaves, then yeah, remove them. But if you can leave it for a little while till it's a little bit warmer, that's always good.
No problem. Thank you.
And I just wanted to thank everybody today. I took away a lot. Is it okay if I make a couple points, Emily?
Absolutely. We only have a couple minutes, but I would love to hear some points.
Okay, really quickly, it'd be really cool if we had, I saw something at the library in Guelph, they have a repair cafe. So to create and build community in our community, where we are fostering the very thing that Christine and Merissa are talking about, getting the library involved, or I don't know, somebody like Riverside 83 or the BIA, I don't know, someone to have like a repair cafe workshops with Norfolk County or whoever, where we're actually getting together to make our own deodorant or fix something. There's so many cool things that you mentioned today. Thank you for today. It's very inspiring.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Sherry. That makes me think, if you haven't listened to our podcast, we did a podcast here in 2021 called In Sync with Nature. And on episode, I believe it's 2, it's all about garbage. And we had a professor from Queen's University, and she's talking about a lot of initiatives like worldwide that she is aware of. And there was a big exchange center and repair type things that she's talking about. So if you're interested in learning more, I invite you to go check out on your podcast device or wherever you're listening to it. It's called In Sync with Nature. Just one last comment before we wrap this up. Carrie asking Merissa, Is there a reason glass is a more difficult item to recycle? Is it that there's less of a local market, or is it due to the breakage or danger?
I'm sorry about that. I was trying to get my computer off mute. So it's more so of a local market challenge, and finding uses for that material. So I know that glass can be broken down and it's used as reflective material, sandblasting, but there is kind of a limited number of uses for it. So that's where the challenge comes in. And then sometimes with some of the markets, I'm not sure at this point where glass is, but some of the markets we're paying people to take that material versus recouping money for the sale of our material. But I haven't looked at the price sheet lately to see what the cost of or what glass is going for at this point. So I'm sorry, I don't have the specifics on that one.
Okay, thank you for answering that, Merissa, and great question here. So we are getting very close to the end of the session. I really want to thank everybody for attending, for taking the time to have conversation, to learn. And from now, it's on you to take some action. Please keep in mind 2 other events that we are hosting on the subject of sustainability. The next event is May 6th. I will be releasing details on this hopefully Monday, and I will email you as attendees of the first event. And we are also planning a 3rd event on May 27th. I just want to take a quick moment to thank our partners for this event, Fanshawe College, and also the Ontario Tree Limb Foundation, who we're working on a grant with them right now, and they've been very helpful in us getting a little bit more work in the sustainability area. So thank you for attending. You go out, celebrate Earth Day, get outside, be kind to yourself and our planet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.